Alrighty, Algebra 2. In this video, we'll be going over the answer that you got in that last example 2b. So if you just want to check your work, you should have gotten the answers of -5/3 and x equals 3/2, and they're shown over here as well. So you get 3/2 and -5/3. If you did not get those answers, stay tuned because I'm going to go over this work in greater detail. Let's go ahead and start off with how I did the factoring. So again, I leaned towards using factoring by grouping because the x squared coefficient was not 1, and I saw that I could not divide these three terms by 6 nicely. So I multiplied the first and the last term, so 6 times -15, and I got -90, which I wrote right here. The next thing I did was write a whole list of numbers that multiplied to -90. Now, there's a lot more than what I have written here, but I just wrote down a short list for you to look at. And so then from here, I went ahead and picked out the pair that would add, that when I added together, I would get a +1, because even though there's no number written here, there is a 1 there. The only pair that worked is this -9 and +10 combination. All of these other pairs are no good to us. So from here, what we do is we take this -9 and 10 and we substitute it into our equation. So instead of writing plus x, I write plus 10x minus 9x, because when I simplify that, I end up getting x anyway. But by using plus 10x and minus 9x, it allows me to use factoring by grouping. Okay, so then the next thing I did was group my first two terms and my last two terms, and you can see that right here I did that plus. I turned this into a plus sign and kept the negative with the 9 right here. From there, in the first quantity, so this first set of parentheses here, I saw that I could divide both of those terms by 2x. So that's what I did. So that 2x is going to come out here outside of my parentheses. And when I do 6x squared divided by 2x, I get 3x. When I do 10x divided by 2x, I just get 5. So that's what I have in this set of parentheses. I did the same thing, or a similar thing, for the second quantity. I looked to see what I could divide out of both of those terms, and the only thing I could divide was a -3. So that's what I did, and that -3 came out here. Now, when I divided both of those terms by -3, I ended up with 3x plus 5. So now I have an expression like I have right here. And from there, we're going to look at this. We're going to factor it again, because I have 2x times this green block plus -3 times this whole green block right here. So the thing that I can factor out is the green block, or 3x plus 5. So I'm going to factor that out. And so when I factor that out, I get 3x plus 5 times 2x minus 3, because when I divide everything by 3x plus 5, all I'm left with is the 2x and the -3, and so that gets its own set of parentheses. From there, I use the zero product property. So I set each quantity equal to 0 and I solved for x. And so you can see, maybe it'll be easier to see if I just draw a line down here. So from here, this is pretty much algebra 1 work. So over here, subtract 5 and then divide by 3. One of my solutions is x equals -5/3. And then on the other side, I end up with x equals 3/2. Let's use the quadratic formula. So I've identified my A and B and C. I substituted in those values into my quadratic formula. And then in the next step, I just simplified everything that was underneath the radical. So 1 squared is just going to be 1. -4 times 6 times -15 is going to be a positive 360. So that's where that came from. And then this -1 came from this first part right here. Okay. In the line after that, I just did the 1 plus the 360, and I ended up with -1 plus or minus the square root of 361 all over 12. What's nice is that the square root of 361 is a nice number. That is 19. So that's what you see right here. Now, from right here, you can see the two different solutions that we're going to end up getting. So one of my solutions is going to be -1 plus 19 all over 12. And you can see that when I simplify this answer, I end up with 3/2, which is what I ended up with over here when I factored as well. On the bottom, I did -1 minus 19 divided by 12. When I simplified that, I got -5/3, which is also what I ended up with here. Thanks for watching.